everybody out there. What's up, Slice and Dicers? Today's episode is going to be about what it takes to be a DM. So, what I wanted to do was just sort of kick off the intro here. I would like to introduce our two guests for today. We have my brother, of course.
Hello,
Oliver,
all.
you know. And a good friend of ours growing up, Matt. And we're excited to share this concept with you, and I think it'll be a good one. So stay tuned, Slice and Dicers. All right, it's roll initiative time out there, Slice and Dicers. Well, first off, what I'd like to say is we've got some comments this week, but a lot of them are just sort of like, good job, keep it up. And that's great. I appreciate that you guys are enjoying the podcast. But what I'd love to see is some more like questions, some things that you would suggest. I know we took some stuff from the first week's suggestions and really improved episode 2. And so we're looking to continue to improve. So please go out there and comment. You got anything you want to add, Oliver?
Nothing much, rather than, thanks for watching. Show it to your friends if this is something you like. Maybe you can build a community.
That's what we want to do. We want to make a big, awesome group that we can all sort of talk about how awesome tabletop RPs, not just D&D, but everything is. So, I know the two guys with me today have a lot of experience with Warhammer 40K, and they might bring that in a little bit too. So,
blood for the blood god.
Exactly. So we're really excited about it. So
that's for the skull throne. Corn for the cornflakes.
This one's going to be a fun one, guys.
For the
Get ready out there. So, for story time today, we're actually really blessed to be welcomed by a good friend of ours. Yes, I said blessed. This is one of my oldest friends, going back to when I was a freshman in high school, or even an 8th grader, maybe. I don't know when you moved over to Podunk Nowhere.
2003? 2000?
Oh, so I would have been like a junior.
I don't know. At this point,
it's been like a long time, like 15 years plus.
Some of you are probably younger than this relationship.
Yeah. So
yeah, once you hit 10 years, you're like, how long have you known him?
A long time. A long-ass time.
I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, Matt's been great, and he moved into one of our friends who is also one of our first DMs. And so he sort of became a big part of our group. And I've known Matt through all of his times in life, and it's been cool. He was one of the groomsmen in my wedding. And I really appreciate him, and I'm glad that I've had this awesome chance to sort of do a lot of gaming with him. And he is a man who can twist a story. As Oliver and I alluded to on teaser last week, he plays the best dumb orc character I've ever seen. And he's been great at it. I'm sure he's got a nice little story picked out today. So, Matt, what would you like to tell us for story time?
And on that note, you have to be smart to be dumb. It's a lot of people look at like Jim Carrey.
I want a T-shirt that says you have to be smart to be dumb.
Yeah, well, it's like people underestimate. Like, you look at Jim Carrey, and people go, "Oh, I could be that dumb." I was like, "Really? Have you tried it?" Because I think you've made your friends laugh for 15 seconds. Do it for 2 hours.
That's true.
So we're talking about finding a DM, and so on that note, I'll talk about my measuring stick for DMs, and that's your ability to kind of roll with the punches, because I tend to throw kinks into works. That's my thing.
Matt likes his kinks, ladies.
I do, but we're not getting to that. So we had a DM. This is 15 years ago.
Yeah,
at least. And Joey's a brilliant guy, and he loves his puzzles, and he loves intellectual challenges. And he loves, I'm going to try to make a neat way to kind of get my players to interact and deal with your environment and create these puzzles and stuff like that. And they got to think about it. And I was like, I'm going to play an 8 intelligent orc, dumb as a rock. And then they kept criticizing me because I wasn't a very good role player at the time. And I would just be like, well, hypothetically, if we were to solve this problem, and they're like, you don't know any of those words.
Yeah, you would not know.
We're like, you don't know how to do that. You can't even write.
And that helped. I got a lot better, and it helped me to act as well, to start thinking like your character. And so they're like, you know the words smash and crush, and you can hit things with a stick. And so I'm playing the big dumb orc, and he sets up the thing, and we're going through our adventure, and we end up in this tower. And he puts us into this tower. And you get to the bottom floor, and there's like a crank, and you spin it around, and you have to do these tricks, and you lock it into place, and you go up a level, and then you have to do it again, and it gets harder, and you're trying to get up to the 3rd floor, and we finally get there, and it's like, okay, you can't make it through because there's no stone. There has to be the thing to turn the crank. And what we were supposed to do, I don't remember. I think it was just to go to the first floor, unlock some stuff, trap some things, pull the phone there. And I was like, well, I'm the big dumb orc. I don't have time for this. I was like, Ollie, go stand in the stairwell that opens up when I turn this crank. And I turn it, grab the wheel, and chuck it 15, 20 feet across the room, cracks into a stairwell, and Ollie carries it up and unlocks the last room. But the reason that ties into DMing is because Joey didn't get angry. He didn't yell at us. He wasn't like, no, you can't solve the puzzle that way. You didn't do it the way I like it. Or just...
He didn't send me up and like, I have to face the final boss alone now.
Yeah, it wasn't just endless problems. It was, okay, good job. You solved my puzzle by an unconventional means. And that's rule number 1 for a DM, in my opinion, is when your players, which they will, every time they will ruin your plan, can you just accept it? You know, at least they're having a good time. And you did.
Exactly. Versatility, I think, is a component that every DM has to have.
Yeah. You can't survive without it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like I said in the first episode, you're going to think of 100 ways that your teams, or your players are going to solve a problem, and they'll think of 100 other ways to do it.
Yeah. It's
one of the glories of D&D.
Yeah.
it's frustrating as a DM.
Oh, it is.
It is.
I wrote out this 15-page map.
But a really small-minded DM will be like, and then a golden dragon descends from the heaven and eats you.
Yeah.
You know, like that's
you
not...
You will lose your players.
Exactly. And your players will be gone, and then you won't get to do the things you enjoy.
Yeah.
So, great story time. Good story. Good stuff. So, the encounter for today. The first question we're going to throw out for the encounter, because this whole episode's on being a DM, is what makes a good DM? If you had to think of one word that would describe a perfect DM.
Adaptability.
Adaptability. It's a good one.
You stole mine. Planner.
Planning and adaptability.
Planner. Something like that.
I would say... Man, I don't know. I wanted to say...
Charismatic.
Well, it's not... Well, charismatic once, but it's not one word, so I'm sort of cheating. But I'd say a sense of humor.
Yeah.
I think a DM has to be able to make things light.
I'd say a deep voice. All the best DMs I know.
Of a deep voice. Yes.
Or can.
Yeah.
Well, and that... I mean, not necessarily deep voice, but being able to do voices. You want to take a campaign from level 1 to level 5. Yeah, especially if they're not used to it, and you just switch in. Well, darling, the things, and they'll just everybody loses.
Oh yeah,
it.
I mean,
it's a great
You're such a big man.
time. Yeah, especially
please
when
don't
someone
rub my
like
leg. It's scary.
someone like me that does that, they're like, "What?"
Well, I love
Yeah.
doing the voices because I mean I feel like it adds a thing, and it's not necessary. If you're out there and you're like, well, I can't do voices, you can still be a DM. But I mean, like, if you're talking to a dwarven shopkeep and I'm like, hey, what you want over here in me wares? It's going to have a lot more of an image. Or if you're talking to like a gnome apothecary and I'm like, what do you need? What do I got to get for you today?
Yeah,
Like
but
that kind of stuff. Like
honestly, like anybody I've met can do voices. I mean, you don't even have to be good.
yeah, you don't have to be good.
People will appreciate that.
You put the effort in.
You'll put in that effort, like, because
You
they
are
won't
making the
appreciate the hours and hours and hours. Like every session, you're going to spend an hour or two at least as a DM.
Oh yeah.
Planning for it, and they
Oh.
a lot of times they don't notice that.
I'd be the first to admit I've done some group sessions where it's like, oh fuck, they're coming over in 10 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Let me write some stuff down on a sheet of paper.
But
But I've got a
Don't
lot of
do that,
experience.
yeah, don't
you know,
do that
if you're
when
starting
you're
off, don't do that.
it'll
But
go horribly.
don't spend like 10 hours for a 2-hour session.
No,
either.
10 hours is too much.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you need to plan at least a theme. Like this is a dungeon that you can go to.
Yeah. So I think that's definitely true. Something else I think a good DM has is it just has the ability to take any situation and think outside the box.
Yeah.
Because your players are going to figure out some crazy ways to solve problems.
Your players are living outside of the box.
Yeah, a lot of times.
And they haven't. It's the nature of people when you create a plan, you kind of box yourself a little bit. And then they're coming without any of that. And so you often, when you look at a problem you know the answer to, it's obvious to take that route. But when you're the player and you show up and they're like, here's your puzzle, they're just gonna go, well, what's the first thing I can do to solve this? They're not, machines. They're
No.
people.
And new players. If you're a new DM with new players you've never played before, you have to take in consideration you are the first impact you've had on those players as far as D&D. If it is a negative experience, they will probably not enjoy it. I know I
Yeah.
mentioned my father tried it when he was in college, and he didn't know what the hell was going on. His DM didn't explain the rules to him very well, and he was just like, I felt like they were making all the shit up as we went along.
Yeah.
And he never played again. It has sort of a negative impact on it. When my brother and I started playing D&D, he was like, wow, that's a bunch of stupid bullshit. And
Yeah.
I feel like that was one bad experience from one bad DM. If it was a good experience, it could have went a whole different way.
I mean, it's better than the other response that we're apparently worshiping the devil by
Oh yeah.
rolling dice on a table, which I was unaware was a form of devil worship. News to me.
Yeah, you're just like, I'm an evil monster.
Yeah. It just,
I rolled a 1
Okay.
and an 8, so I sort of
Okay.
am actually. But no. The other thing is the worst DM. A word that sort of my anti-DM phrase would be being definite, being concrete.
yeah.
Like if you're like, I can't change this story. This is the story I want to tell. You will not enjoy being a DM.
Yeah, or like that and rule mongering.
Yeah.
Rule mongering is.
We like to refer to you as rule humpers.
Yeah, the biggest thing, and I quoted this to like every group I ever DM'd for. In three that we started playing?
Yeah, we started in
before?
3.
So
Between 2 and 3.
And the very front of the book, it said, these rules are just a guideline for blah, 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 blah. And I used to bring the book out and go, I want you to read this before we start. Okay, keep that in mind, because some of these rules don't work for me. I don't like the way they work. I think the physics, or whatever you want to call it, would work differently. So I'm going
The
to give
infamous
positives and
peasant
negatives.
railgun?
Yeah. Yeah, if you show up and you're like, I want to create a nuclear engine or reactor, I'm going to tell you, no, I don't care if you have rules to do that. I don't care what you found. I don't like it, because it's going to ruin everything in my world.
So what else do you think makes a good DM?
So I think a good point, you were just talking about like new DMs, because a lot of times you don't usually get like an old DM, like someone like me that's been doing it a while, and then suddenly 5 random kids approach me and go, hey, do you want to run our session? Because I'm 30 and I don't talk to 15-year-olds because I'm not a creep.
I have had a couple people offer to pay me to DM before.
Which is awesome, but
Yeah, I just
but
haven't done
usually it's like a bunch of kids in high school and they get together and they're like, hey, I heard about this D&D thing.
And you're like, I don't want to show up on the news, so
Yeah, I don't want to be that guy. So one thing I was going to suggest is if you're new to DMing, you've never done it before, and you got a bunch of guys and like no one wants to do it. A lot of times you'll find out that no one wants to do it the first time because they don't want to be that guy, because they think it's going to be impossible. Go to your local gaming store, find a local DM or something like that, or go online and you can print off entire campaigns. It'll tell you these are the character. It'll even pre-printed character sheets for some of them, and you just hand everybody a character sheet, and it'll tell you word for word, like, here's what you need to do next. And then when they're done with that, you go here. And a lot of the times, like I've seen some really good ones that'll say like, use this accent, and this is what the person says, and it's like just down to that. And it gives you an idea of like about how much work you're gonna have to put in, kind of the structure that you need, and it shows you how to DM.
we're gonna have an episode upcoming soon, which is gonna be the difference between homebrew content and module content.
Yeah.
And we could do 5 episodes on it. But
Yeah.
we're gonna try to fit it all into one about just talking about the 2 differences.
Yeah, we got a lot on the way.
Yeah,
We always
Yeah.
can come back to
I
any
mean,
of these.
homebrew's not. I mean, I did a homebrew One Piece campaign, and they had to roll for a devil fruit, and like one of them was a spider, and the other one, like it got ridiculous.
I don't know anything about One Piece, so I'm
Yeah.
just assuming a devil fruit. They want us to roll more dice.
All right.
19 and a 4.
It was a D100, so
Oh.
you get no die.
Oh.
You get nothing.
Pooh.
I don't know.
Okay. So, yeah, that's basically what I think makes a good DM.
Yeah.
In the most random fashion we could do.
Well, I mean, that's DMing is making a huge plan and then randomly asserting it to your players because they can't pick up. You're like, you give them hints along the way. You're like, hey, you heard this strange noise down the alley, and they're like,
I'm
"Ooh,
gonna
I
keep
don't want to
walking.
do that. Yeah, I don't want to do
I
that."
feel like sometimes to get your players to do something, you'd be like, I'm gonna chain you to the radiator until you understand what I'm talking
You
about.
feel like that. 'Cause I've had times where they're going through the town and they're like, all right, well, we're going to wander around. I was like, okay, you find it to the town square and there are bulletin boards. And they're like, oh, that's cool. Is there anything going on? Nope. I guess not.
All right. So I mean, we'll move on to our next question, which is, where do you find a DM?
Yeah.
What do you?
I mean, you've listened to us so far. You think you'd be interested in playing. It's your first time. You're still a little shaky. You want to have played before you have other people play for you.
Yeah. The best advice I can give is just be a huge nerd like I was. It's tricky because like I was a nerd with no friends, so that was awkward. But then I moved.
You want to be good at this, folks? Lose all your friends
Yeah,
and be a
no
nerd.
friends.
I'm just kidding.
No, I mean, but usually it's a lot of times it's like local friends at high school. That's how a lot of people get started at D&D because it's easy. It's like you can buy I think a cheap set of dice like $5-6 like if you go online. Or
Yeah,
you can,
when I was
you
in
can buy a
our
huge bag.
local gaming store today, we were walking around and they had some sets for $3.85.
Yeah.
I mean, you can find good
Yeah,
cheap
I've-
prices. If you buy online in bulk, you can get the
Oh,
whole
yeah.
set. You can get 7 sets for $10.
Yeah,
know,
you can
like-
get just huge bulk bags, and you'll have enough for everybody. And then after that, you
You'd
can
be the
go
cool
to.
kid. Hey, baby, you want a D20?
Yeah.
I
After that-
bet you that's never worked.
You can play like stuff like Pathfinder and some other sets. The rules are all online, and you just pull them up on your computer, and then
Pull them
all
up on
you-
your smartphone.
Yeah, you can sit there. You can run a D&D session from scratch because everybody has pencils. So we're not gonna don't penny pinch me, but you can run everything you need to run.
I
for-
run my D&D in blood.
Yeah,
You can
but
do it for free.
You well not, and I'm not gonna say free, but for under $15, you can run D&D for near indefinite amount of time because you have to print off your character sheets if you want to have a good D&D session. Like,
Yeah.
'cause-
You have to
If
have
everyone's
character
pulling it up on your
Yeah.
phone to look at it, you can do
Yeah.
it. It's
There's
There's
you're gonna
dice
get
rolling
distracted.
apps for your phones. You don't even have to buy dice.
that's true. But
Although I
it's
will tell you, there's
this is
something
better.
to that. I beat you. 18,
And that you can't. Not everybody, but like as a DM, I always keep people's character sheets because you get that one shisty little guy that's like writing stuff on there that's not true, and I like to just check at the end of the day. I'm like,
I don't know
oh,
about
really?
you. I've got my past history with character sheets. They just lose the friggin' character sheets.
Oh, that's not-
I
that's not
forgot
my
to bring
problem.
it this
Roll your character.
time.
Or no, you just I like to go and look.
Ollie, where'd you get a Steam engine? Because you seem to be obsessed with those, and I didn't give you one.
No, it's in my character sheet. I have it. Like, so it's good to have a physical.
We talked to
copy.
our one friend like, where did you get 7,000 pounds of black powder?
Which
Well,
that's another important
you
thing.
mine it from the
Uh,
ground.
Yeah, is it helps the players keep track, and as DM you want to keep track of stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Especially when you get better and you get used to these things, you can start making the experience more immersive by doing stuff like weight. Because a lot of people don't deal with that, and then you go, no, your armor
It's
weighs
so-
70 pounds.
I haven't
Like,
done weight in a long time, just because it's when you.
It's tedious.
It's tedious. It is. It's like, you're gonna try to get across the river. You're wearing full plates. You're gonna sink like a stone.
Yeah, negatives. But yeah, so anyway, back to I'm the sidetracking rampager.
It's fine.
So friends that you know. Another good one is there's some pretty credible online sites that I've seen.
yeah.
Like there's
Roll20 is a great one.
yeah, Roll20.
And you can
is
find
really
games
good.
up there if you look in the forums and such.
And local gaming stores usually have 2 or 3 people that are kind of like the DMs of the area, and if they won't or aren't DMing at the time, they'll usually know someone it was. We tend to know each other, and you can find a group that way.
Generally, because I mean, like our group of friends, we were talking about it. Like we have about in my session, one of my big sessions we're playing right now, the one you get to watch us play live on the 13th. There's 7 of us. Me, my friend Pointer, and etc. You'll meet all of them. Every one of them in that campaign has DM'd except for Anthony, who you guys will meet in an upcoming episode. And I mean, he's played a lot, so it's not like he has no experience. It's just everyone else has DM'd.
Yeah.
So you usually get to see that experience.
It's really good to play 2 or 3 times and then DM, And then my favorite thing is that changeover. Once I started DMing and then I started playing, it makes you really appreciate you stop being a dick. Like 'cause when you're a player, you tend to that hasn't DM'd and you're new. You do stuff that you don't realize is like really annoying.
It's weird for me playing now. I've DM'd for significant. I mean, I've probably in my D&D experiences, I've probably DM'd 80% of it. And when I think that, like when I play, it's like, wow, this is so weird. I can't just like say things happen and it happens because
I have no control.
I'm not the DM. I'm a piece of the game. I am not the.
But I want the sword. He doesn't give it to you. But I want it.
Exactly.
This is my world.
But he gives me the sword.
No.
And then you start
What?
flexing the DM muscle. Listen, next time we play, if you want anything, you better give me this fucking sword
No,
right
we
now.
we played at, and this is another good way to get people to DM in your group, to get people to learn to do it. We had these, it's like a gift thing. So if you were a DM, when you're DMing and someone does something cool, you gave them something. And then they could use that in any other campaign they were in. And so the way we did that is the DMs had the power to give them out, and sometimes player could give them. So you, as the DM, got access to some of those. So it was a cool way to like incentivize learning to DM.
Interesting. I've heard a lot of cool stuff. One other thing I'll say, players, once you get a good DM, be nice to your DM because they're the person who is making your game nights possible. I've had players before, we usually have everybody brings in food. Our game nights are off the chain. We have lots of food.
I take bribes.
You take bribes. Oh,
Yeah, you bring me like certain snacks that I like. Be like, man, that's a good reroll you're gonna get. It's good to be DM.
Wait, I thought Oliver had a 13 on Dex. Nope, 17.
No, that's weird.
And I also have my
No, the
favorite
DC
type of
was-
Oreos.
Yeah, that's weird. Maybe if I had more Oreos, you could roll again, but I ran out, so I'm tired and angry.
The biggest thing I want you to take away from this is that there's DMs out there. You can be a DM no matter how little you think you can do it.
Yeah.
It's about building confidence. I do recommend getting your chops,
As a
worked
player.
by playing first.
Yes.
But then, don't think you can't. I know a lot of people who become wonderful DMs, and they maybe only played 2 or 3 sessions before they try it themselves.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times it's because we overthink it and we think, well, I feel like I didn't enjoy that as much as the DM, and but that's because as the DM, you're so busy with like focusing on everyone's joy that you don't get to feel the same joy as a player. Because as a player, you're only focused on like, I want to enjoy this.
The best feeling I get is like after a session and I have my players the next day texting me about how much fun they had, or they're telling me about
Yeah, that's usually the best part. It's just a lot of the times as the DM, and if you have a DM, please do that for them.
Yeah,
just
it makes them
let
feel
know.
good.
And even if it's bad, let them know like, hey, I liked this, but can we work on this? Like it'll come across in a good way.
Definitely. And I'll tell you one last little thing is, if you're a DM out there or fledgling DM, give other DMs a little patience. One thing I'm guilty of is when I play in a session and I feel like someone's not doing a good job, I immediately want to take over and be a DM. When I came back from college, I played with some guys and I thought they did an okay job, but I was like, I could DM way better than this. And I ran into trying to DM real quick myself.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a lack of patience, and no one's ever going to get better if we're not giving them chances.
Yeah.
So go out there and try to be a player, but don't feel like you have to run everything. Back to our, I want that sword thing.
Yeah.
Just because that's what your kind of power you're used to
yeah.
wielding, don't expect you're going to have that all the time.
You're every god in the pantheon in DM as the DM. You're all of it, and then you go back to a player and like even the little minor god that's in control of the kitchen drawer, like he's just like, no, I don't. Even he won't listen to
That
you.
guy's a dick. You know how many times I
He's
had to
rude.
pray to him to get a butter knife?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So recap: you online, local gaming store, friends. That's the I usually went friends first. Then I went to my local gaming store, and then I check online. But a lot of times, once you get into the circles, I've got.
Every time you go online, you get a lot of inappropriate pictures. I'm just,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Just don't say I want to be the master. Like that's a different.
That's
not
a
the
different
same thing.
situation.
That's
You
not
get some
the same
DM
thing.
pics you don't want to get.
You don't want to be the dungeon master. That's a different. You just say I'm looking for D&D.
If you don't word it right, someone might show up in tight leather and tell you
Yeah.
that your
That's-
safety word is pineapple.
That's a different game.
That is a way different game. Well, until next time, Slice and Dicers, don't roll too many ones.